for the most part, but you will have to be able to kind of maneuver yourself around to lay on your back, your stomach, and your side. And we will just start seated. So sitting up nice and tall. Try to find right on top of your sit bones, even if that means you have to sit on a block or a pillow, and you'll take a big breath in. And then blow it out. Inhale. Exhale. Just continue with those nice deep breaths for right now. Trying to start to find some awareness of where your breath is coming from. So when you inhale, see if you can expand your rib cage. And then when you exhale, use all of those muscles in your ribs and your abdominal muscles to contract the core center. Inhale. Exhale. We'll add a little movement. So you'll inhale and stay. And then when you exhale, you'll just nod your chin in towards your chest and go about halfway down into a little curved spine. And then just inhale, restack one vertebrae at a time. And do that again. Exhale, nod the chin, roll about halfway down. Inhale, restack. So you're just starting to warm up your spine, trying to feel the vertebrae. Feel how they are doing back there in the back of your body. One more like that. Exhale, nod and roll halfway down. Inhale, come up. So we'll kind of do the same thing over to the side now. You can put a hand down if you need to, or you can exhale, nod ear to shoulder, and see if you can use your abdominal muscles to float over about halfway down and then restack one vertebrae at a time. Go to the same side. Exhale, ear to shoulder, halfway over. Inhale, restack. Last thing to come up is the head. One more. Exhale, nod and roll. And then inhale, restack. And we'll do the other side. So exhale, ear to shoulder. Start a little small just so that those side of your ribs go, oh, okay, we're working now. Inhale, restack. Two more. Exhale, ear to shoulder. Little dip over. And restack. And last one, exhale, ear to shoulder, little dip over. Try to keep the rib cage facing forward and restack. Good, and then you can take your hands to your hips or just out of the way, and we'll do some rib circles. So you'll take your ribs out in front of you, over to the side, around to the back, over to the other side, and then reverse your circle. See if you can keep your pelvis and your legs still. So you're trying best you can to just find that rib cage movement. Shoulders are along for the ride, the head is along for the ride as well, and you're doing the best you can to utilize your obliques to keep the pelvis in the same exact place as you get all of this wonderful movement in your ribs. Okay, and then make sure you are even in both directions. Come back to center, and you'll just reach your arms straight forward in front of you. I'll show you a side view. When you exhale, you'll lift your arms up toward the sky, and inhale, just lower to horizontal. Exhale for the lift. Inhale for the lower. So as you do this, try to make sure that you're not sending your ribs forward in opposition. You also want to see if you can lift the arms without letting the shoulders rise up by the ears. One more like that. Exhale. And inhale. Keep your arms straight out in front of you, and now we'll go for a big inhale. Open the arms up like you're about to give someone a hug. Exhale. Hug a big old fat circle tree there. Inhale. And exhale. So I want you to try to do this movement without squeezing your shoulder blades together and then pushing them away from one another. See if you can keep the shoulder blades almost still on your back and let the majority of that movement come from the top of your arm. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Lower the arms down. Give the shoulders a little roll out. And let's come onto our backs. So you can turn to face the side, lower yourself down, one vertebrae at a time, and just start with your feet on the ground for a second, because we didn't get to do any pelvic awareness in our seated position, so let's do that now. Exhale, imprint the low back onto the mat. Inhale, find a little release. Exhale, imprint. Inhale, release. And as you do this, feel the bones in your pelvis, in your sacrum, change which part of them is touching your mat. So when you find an imprint, your low back high up on your sacrum is touching. And then when you inhale, release, you're almost on your tailbone there. One more. And then inhale, release to neutral. We're gonna stretch the legs all the way out to the end of your mat. And notice how with straight legs, you're probably naturally in a bit more of a neutral spine. If not, try to find neutral with straight legs. Keep your hands down on the mat, open the shoulders, and inhale to prepare. And when you exhale, you're gonna take one leg up to a tabletop position, and inhale, put it right back down, reach it all the way to the end of your mat. Again, exhale, and inhale. And you can just alternate legs here, back and forth. Try to keep your pelvis still on the mat. So oftentimes when one leg comes up, we end up rolling over to put more weight onto that side of the pelvis. So can you start to find your obliques to make sure that we're not rolling into that side of the hip, but rather keeping it nice and level. If you wanted, you could put your hands on your hip bones to make sure that you are avoiding that rotation in the spine. Exhale for the lift. Inhale for the lower. I'm going to do one more on each leg. Ooh, I just felt myself dip there, so watch yourself. Last one here. Good, and then from here you'll use an exhale, drag your feet on your mat, find imprint as soon as you can, and then take your legs up to a tabletop position. Both are there. Hands are down on the mat next to you. Inhale. Without shifting your knees past one another, you'll exhale and lower your legs over towards one side of your mat for a twist. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, go to the other side. And inhale, come back to center. So keep going like that. For right now, we are absolutely lifting one butt cheek and then coming back onto it. But I want you to look at your knees. If you look like your knees cannot stay together or one leg looks longer than the other one, that means you're not quite shifting your pelvis. You're not twisting it evenly. So see if you can really press up away from the floor with the side of the hip that's lifted. Let's do one more in each direction. Inhale back to center. Last one. And we're gonna add on to this. So same exact movement, but it's gonna change the breathing a little bit. Inhale to prepare. As you exhale, let's go up and over to one side. When you inhale, you'll stretch your legs out on a nice high diagonal and then bring them back to your twisted position, return back to center. And we'll go to the other side. If you want, you can try the opposite breathing where you inhale, twist, exhale, extend the legs, inhale, bend, but stay rotated, and exhale, come back to center. So choose whichever version works for you, but try to take your time with these positions. So rather than rolling in and out of them and going right back side to side, see if you can take a second to really hit each individual part of this move, and specifically keep the opposite shoulder blade down as you rotate over to the side. I just found myself pulling my shoulder blade up off of the mat. So try to stay nice and broad through the collarbones. Fight that rotation in the ribs. See if you can keep all of the rotation in the pelvis. I'm going to do one more over to finish off and be even. And then you can make your way back to center and hug your knees in and just give it a little rest there. A little rock side to side. And we're going to do sort of the opposite of what we just did. So this one, the last one, we were lifting a butt cheek, lifting the pelvis. For this next one, we will not be lifting the pelvis. So take a second to find imprint and bring your legs up to tabletop. And now see if you can keep your weight even on your hips as you draw the legs to one side and back to center. Draw the legs to the other side and back to center. Your weight on your pelvis is going to change a little bit, but see if you can minimize that. That means, I'll show you from this angle, that means that when we lower the legs to one side, we should have what looks like a leg length discrepancy, I guess. So previously we were keeping the knees together, that brought our hips up. Now can you lower using your inner and outer thighs, and then come back to center. And your weight is going to shift ever so slightly, but you are trying to use your legs to do this rather than your pelvis. We're going to add one move into this. So you'll go to the right, you'll go to the left, and then you'll just send your thighs a little bit away from you, and then back to center. You'll go to the left, you'll go to the right, and then you'll go a little bit away from you at center. Let's do one more like that. Go to the right, go to the left, come to center, move the legs just a little away, and let's put that into one big move. So take your legs over to the right, circle them down through that farther away position, up and over to the other side, and then back to center. Reverse your circle. Legs go to the left, over to the center, across to the other side, and then back to the middle. Keep reversing your circle and keep trying the best that you can to keep your pelvis still on the ground. I'm here to tell you that it's pretty impossible to have no movement in the pelvis, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. This is sort of a version of the hip twist, which is confusing because your hips are not twisting, your legs are. Let's do one more in each direction. So I'm gonna do this circle, and then one more circle the other way. And then you can come back to center and hug it in. Good, hopefully your abs are warmed up and ready to hold on to you for some things, because we are going to lay on our side. So you can roll over onto your side and either put a block or a pad under your head or just support with your arm. So starting in a super long position where you are straight like a pencil, check and make sure your pelvis is stacked. We don't want the top side rolling forward or backwards. And then if someone had a bird's eye view of you, that you would look like you were standing, basically nice and neutral. No ribs forward, no big arch or round in the spine. I'm going to flex the bottom foot to help a little bit with balance. Point your top leg, and you'll just exhale, lift, inhale, lower. Going as high as you can control, maintaining a neutral pelvis, and check in on what your ribs are doing, because as we do this hip abductor work, outer thigh and we'll do some inner thigh, we want to make sure that our ribs are still and solitary and also active in the movement. Because if we're not using our ribs and we're in a side bend, then we're not getting the postural work that we're hoping for. 4 more like this, and 3, and 2, and then last one. Hold the leg at a medium height. Point your bottom toe, your bottom foot, and you'll exhale, try to lift your bottom leg and lower it down. Exhale, lift, inhale, lower. So you're kind of trying to tap that top leg with your bottom foot. If you can't quite tap, one of 2 things, don't worry about it, or maybe lower your top leg just a little bit so that you can make a connection. You choose. Make sure that, I assume you'll be watching this on a video, make sure that you're not rolling forward to kind of look at wherever you've placed your iPad or computer. Try to open up and stay long for 4 more bottom leg lifts. 4 and 3, check in on the rib cage. Here's 2, and then last one. Let's hold the legs all the way together. And then we're just going to do these little baby pulses of both legs together up towards the sky. You'll notice how tiny that lift is. If it's too big, then it's not going to truly be coming from the legs. It'll be coming from the pelvis. Your toes should ever so slightly be rubbing past one another. 4 more. Go. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower that down. Ooh, inner thigh's feeling good. I'm going to take my head and prop it up on my hand, and then maybe try. You don't have to do this side part of holding your head, is not good for your arm, but if you want to try this position, you are still straight like a pencil. I'm going to flex my bottom foot, and you're actually trying to lift your ribs up off of the mat. So I'm on my elbow here. If that works for you, you can always just keep your head down. Take your top leg, float it away. You'll inhale, bend your knee in towards your chest, and exhale, kick it straight back to where it started from. Inhale and exhale. So this side lift here is optional, and if you want just the supine version of it, the top hand off of the mat is going to be a really good start to working up to being able to balance in that position. Inhale and exhale, especially if your top hand is off of the mat, if you're holding it behind your head, check in on your ribs. 2 more here. Last one. Exhale, lower down, spin around, and do the other side. So if you are unable to rest your head in your hand like this, no big deal. You still have the option of being on the ground. So straight like a pencil here. Take a second to find your setup. I'm going to flex my bottom foot and then check in on your ribs. Make sure you have one long line from your nose through your sternum to your pubic bone. Then when you're ready, you'll exhale, lift your top leg, inhale, lower. And then think of the idea of someone having a bird's eye view of you as well, so that you challenge your perception of your neutral spine. So when you are laying here on the ground, everybody has a tendency, and it's probably going to be similar to your standing posture. So if you know that you tend to be open and swayed out in the front of your body, check in on that. See if you can find a gentle tuck, a gentle pull back of the ribs. If you tend to slouch, check in on that. Try to open up in the shoulders. We'll do 4 more here. 4, keep the shoelaces pointing forward. 3, 2, and then 1, and we'll hold the leg quite conservatively, medium height there. And then point the bottom toe so that you can exhale, lift the bottom leg, and inhale, lower. So it always happens that the first couple of times you take that leg up off of the mat, you start to lose your balance. So check in on what your body's reaction to that is. See if you can make sure that your ribs are still in alignment. I oftentimes see a lot of shoulder tension trying to hold on to this balance. So see if you can find that stability with your shoulders in place, away from the ears. See if you can still lift your ribs up off of the mat with your shoulders in place. And then make sure that we're not just forgetting about the belly here. We still want our core to hold us in this move. Let's do 4 more. 4 and 3 and 2, and then tie your legs together. Connect them, keep them connected. Exhale, do some little baby pulses up towards the sky here. Try to keep your legs fully connected if you can. And by fully, I mean they're touching somewhere, even if it's just your big toe. But watch the line at the ankle so that we're not connected with an internal rotation at the ankle. Let's do 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Lower that down. If you want to add the extra upper body work, you can support yourself on your bottom elbow, and we're not side bending here. You are lifting up and away, trying for that balance. Take your top hand behind your head, no matter which position you choose for your upper body to be in, and you'll inhale, bend the top knee in towards the chest, and exhale, kick it straight out of the hip. Whoop, don't lose your balance. Inhale and exhale. So sort of a bend and stretch here. The knee pulls forward and then goes straight out of the hip. So we're not going backwards, we're not going in front. You're going straight to the end of your mat. Inhale, exhale. Remembering that it's just as worthy to be laying down here as long as your ribs are in line. It's also quite challenging to balance because the leg is pulling forward. Make sure you're not tucking your tailbone when your knee comes forward. Let's do 2 more. And last one. And lower down. And just melt into your mat for a second. If you'd like to go into a little spinal twist, you can. Leaving your knees bent to one side, opening up to the other. And if you choose to do that spinal twist, make sure you get the other side as well. Shift your knees over to the other side. Open up. And we are going to go into some prone work. So we'll lay face down on the mat We will be lifting the legs a little bit, so if you want to pad your hip bones, feel free. We're not doing any major arching though, so you won't be digging too much into that position. Let's actually start with the hands down by the hips and the legs all the way together. And you'll just rest your nose on the mat. And then let your shoulders roll in. So it feels like really poor posture, but that's because we're gonna set the shoulders each and every time we move. Your palms are facing your hips and they'll stay that way the whole time. Let's inhale and set the shoulders, roll them open. As you exhale, roll an imaginary marble away using your nose and come up into a little back bend. Take a breath in at the top. And then as you exhale, you'll reach from the crown of your head, lengthen, grow taller to come all the way back down and release your shoulders at the bottom. Inhale, reset the shoulders. Exhale, peel the head up, peel the chest up. Inhale at the top, reach your fingers for your toes. And then exhale from the crown of your head, lengthen to lower back down. We'll do one more in that slower breath. Inhale, set the shoulders. Exhale, peel it up. Inhale at the top, and exhale, lengthen to lower down. And now we're going to do 3 on 2 breaths. So you'll inhale, set the shoulders and arch up, and then you'll exhale and lengthen to lower down. Inhale, set the shoulders, arch up. Exhale, lengthen to lower. Keep reaching your fingers for your toes. One more. Inhale, shoulders, peel it up. Exhale, lengthen to lower down, and you can kind of release, take a little rest, and stack your hands under your forehead. We're just going to do 3 of this next one. You can give your hips a little rock side to side, but make sure your legs are still connected beneath you. Find your core, stretch your legs away from you. Inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, hover the upper body away from your mat. Inhale, lower it back down. The hands come up too. Exhale, hover. Inhale, grow even longer to lower back down. One more. Exhale, hover. Inhale, grow long to lower back down and stay in this position, but take your legs out as wide as your mat and externally rotate the toes so that we are now in external rotation at the hip. Find your core. So use your abs here. As you exhale, you're gonna lift your legs up. Try to tap your heels together and then lower back down to your starting position. So I'm kind of calling these rainbows because your legs are kind of drawing a rainbow behind you and then lowering down. If you're like me and getting your heels all the way together is really challenging, they don't have to come all the way together. You can just use your inner thighs to squeeze your legs together as close as you can get them, and then open back out, lower back down. Notice what's going on in your upper body. Are you holding tense in your upper body? Are you able to support your core to let your legs do this work? We're gonna try for 4 more. And 3. And 2. Last one here. Open the legs out and just give your hips a little rock side to side here. We're gonna stay in this position for 1 more move. From here, find your core. Exhale and hover your legs away from the mat. They're still in the externally rotated position. And then inhale to prepare and exhale, try to keep that hover as you bend your knees and touch your big toes together and then open back up. Exhale, bend. Inhale, open. If it's impossible for you to keep your legs hovering, then cool. You just put your knees back down, focus on getting the hamstring work by shortening the leg, bending at the knee, and then reaching back out. 4 more. You can also feel free to have a flexed ankle here. So your heels tap together and then maybe stretch back out. 2 more. Make sure your ribs are in and your shoulders are down. Last one. Stretch the legs away from you, lower them down onto your mat, and give it a release. You're gonna work yourself into a shell stretch however you need to, whether that be rolling onto the side or just pushing back. And make sure this is a good shell. So really round out in your spine. Stay off of your legs because that's not really a rounded spine. Press into the low back there. Give it a little rock side to side. And then restack one vertebrae at a time. We'll finish off laying on our backs to do just a little bit more abdominal work. So work yourself onto your back however you need to. This is going to focus a little bit more on the upper abs, whereas we did lower abs a minute ago. All right, so first things first, let's find an imprint. And you know what, I will say, if you're feeling really good working an imprint and you want to challenge yourself to try to do this work in neutral, cool, you can try neutral. You're going to take your hands up towards the sky and then take both legs up to tabletop. So you choose neutral or imprint, whichever one you feel like you are currently working at. Let's go for some dead bug work. So when you exhale, one leg is going to reach away, the other arm reaches away, and then inhale, bring it back to your starting position. Exhale, other arm, other leg, opposite side of the body. Inhale, pull it back in. We're doing a few of these to start to feel the weight of the arms pulling the ribs. So especially if you're working in a neutral, try to make sure that that arch is under your low back, that it's not under your rib cage. We want to keep the ribs melting down and the low back in the arched position. So let's do one more on each leg. And last one here. Good. We're going into some simple crunches. So I'm going to bring my legs together. Again, you choose if you want to work in a neutral or an imprint. Take your hands behind your head, elbows where you can see them, and you'll exhale and curl it up, and inhale, lower back down. Another option is to just have your feet on the ground, especially if you'd like to try working in neutral. It's nice to have the feet down to work in neutral if you're just starting, because then you can really access the upper body work without totally draining your energy holding the neutral. Let's do 4 more crunches. Make sure you're really rolling into yourself, not looking up towards the sky. 3 more. 2 more. And last one. Peel the head and shoulders up and we're going to stay. Let's go for some twists. So exhale, rotate over to one side. Inhale to center. Exhale over to the other. Again, you still have the option of working in a neutral. Feel free to put your feet down if that's more accessible for you, or you just go into an imprint. This is going to get a little bit more complicated in just a second. We're kind of going to put some pieces of this together. If you are in neutral, make sure your weight is staying evenly placed on your pelvis, that you're not rocking your weight side to side, that you're not moving your knees side to side. Let's do 4 more here. 4, this is coming up on the last move of the day. 3, so keep breathing, we're almost there. 2, and last one. Before we combo, I'm gonna let you come down, take a quick rest. I will say this next one will be really challenging in neutral, so I'm going to go into an imprint. Imprint, legs up, tabletop, hands are still gonna be behind your head. You'll start in your crunch. Let's go ahead and twist over to one side and stay in that twist. And then just like we did earlier, you'll exhale and reach your knees just a little bit away from you and inhale, pull them back to tabletop. Exhale and inhale. Nice strong imprint here. No lifting of the low back away from the mat. Make sure that your opposite shoulder is trying to lift away from the mat so that you're in a true twist, not just your head twisting. 2 more. Shooting for 6 on each side. Last one. You can rest if you want to, or you can come through center, go over to the other side. I'm going to get some adjusting in the process. And here we go. Exhale and inhale. So as your legs reach away from you, think of pulling into a deeper imprint. Instead of just holding on to your imprint, imagine you were going even deeper, pulling the belly down. 3 more here. Make sure that it's not just your head that's twisted, but that your upper body has twisted as well. Final one here. Pull it back to center, lower down, hug your knees in, rock them side to side. Let's release that. So take your legs and straighten them out to the end of your mat. If you have room, you can reach your arms overhead as well. And I want you to arch your spine as much as you can or want to. So lift your low back away from the mat. Open up your ribs, open up your belly. Take another big deep breath in here. And exhale, just melt down out of that. You can take your arms down into a more comfortable position. Bring the feet onto the ground, and you'll just use gravity to let your knees fall over to one side and then fall over to the other. And just kind of release in your abdominal muscles so you don't have to hold anything on there anymore. Just let them go. And work your way back to center. And you'll draw your knees in towards your chest, rock back, and roll yourself up to a seated position. Find a nice comfy place to sit, and we will finish very similar to how we started. So try to find your neutral, tall seated spine. Take a breath in, blow it out, and let's do a little spinal movement. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, nod the chin and go about a quarter or half of the way down into a little C curve. And inhale, restack one vertebrae at a time. Exhale, nod the chin, roll. Inhale, restack. Same thing over to one side. Exhale, ear to shoulder, side bend. Inhale, restack. Same side for one more time. Exhale, ear to shoulder, side bend. Inhale, restack. And then over to the other side. Exhale, dive over. Restack. Try to keep your ribs pointing forward rather than rotating. And then now we'll go into a spinal rotation. So you can turn over one shoulder, place the hand down if you would like, and maybe even put a little pressure in your front arm. Make sure to look over your back shoulder, continue the twist all the way up into your neck, and then slowly rotate back to center, over to the other side. A little help from your hands. Try to make the majority of this happen with your abdominal muscles, and make sure you turn your head to look over your back shoulder. And then work your way back to center. Come to neutral, take a big breath in, side out, and let that go. Happy Pilates day to you.